Hi friends, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Cosmere stuff. It's currently Thursday, December 5th, so Wind and Truth comes out tomorrow, so that's what this video is going to be about. We're just going to talk about some Cosmere stuff for preparation for... We're going to talk about some Cosmere stuff to prepare for Wind and Truth. This is not a recap. I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite Stormlight moments. You have no idea how excited I am. My copy is already pre-ordered on Amazon. It comes in tomorrow. I have the audiobook pre-ordered on Audible. I use one of my credits. So excited. So let's get into it. So first, I want to talk about my favorite moments in each book. Then I'll probably do some character talk. So, The Way of Kings. I read this book back in August. I was on the way home from work. I was listening to the audiobook. I would take the physical book into work with me and I would listen to it, because I have never been in this fantasy world before, so I would look at the book, see if there's any words that this is very distracting. See if there are any words that I didn't know. There will be spoilers for the Stormlight Archive, so don't watch this video if you haven't read them all, or if you don't care about spoilers, stay here, have fun. We're just gonna hang out and talk about stuff. And there is a lot of interesting foreshadowing in this book, like you see about stuff about Elokar, and he is seeing things, he's paranoid, and then you find out later that he cut his own saddle strap when he gets thrown off his horse, and Dalinar does a really cool, I don't know what it's called, it's something clap. It's really cool, where he catches the Chasm Fiend claw. Super cool. But you find out that he was gonna be radiant, and he was gonna bond to a cryptic spren, and that's what he's been seeing. He's been seeing cryptic spren. I love that. That is so cool to me. And really sad, to be honest, because okay, I'm not gonna rant about Moash. I'm not gonna rant about the whole Elokar thing. Maybe when we talk about Oathbringer, I'll do a little mini rant, but I'm not gonna do it. Let's see. Other cool things in this book. There is the whole thing where you find out about the Ghost Bloods. You find out that Shallan's dad was a part of the Ghost Bloods, which is interesting considering if you've read the rest of the Cosmere, you know what the Ghost Bloods are, you know who is in charge of the Ghost Bloods, so that's interesting. It kind of makes you think, who are the good guys? What are the motives of people? Obviously we know what, I don't want to say things because I don't want to spoil other books in the Cosmere, because I feel like if I talk about who is the leader of the Ghost Bloods, because at the end of Rhythm of War, you find out that the Ghost Bloods aren't a Rosharan organization, and each planet kind of has their own, secret society kind of vibe. I'm not going to say much more because I don't want to spoil other Cosmere stuff. I'm just talking about, Stormlight. But yeah, the implications that her father is a part of the Ghost Bloods. You find out that Yasna is a Surge Binder. Is that... I don't know if it's explicitly said, but she's a Surge Binder. She does have a Spren. We don't meet her Spren until book 3. I honestly didn't really know what she was until a couple days ago when I just looked it up, because I was I don't know the orders of the Knights Radiant. I just know what a Windrunner is, and I know what an Edge Dancer is, and that's all you got for me. But she is a Surge Binder. I want to know what a Bondsmith is. Clearly. My favorite character is Dalinar. I know what a Bondsmith is. And then we have Shallan stealing the Soulcaster, even though it's a fake. You have Kaladin and the bridge crew saving Dalinar from the betrayal of Sadeas' army, where they took their bridges and left them to fight with a ton of Parshendi. And then you see Kaladin injure Eshronai, which is really cool. And then you have Dalinar trading Oathbringer, where he takes it, he summons it and puts it in the stone and trades Oathbringer for Sadeas' bridge crew, which is, I love it. And then he makes Kaladin captain of the guard. Love that. That's great. And then the epilogue being Taln, the Herald of War, I think. Him coming into Kholinar and seeing Wit, and he's like, I fear you're too late. Crazy. The whole plot with Taravangian being the one that's collecting all the death rattles that are the epigraphs. Crazy. The fact that Szeth's master is Taravangian. Crazy. And then when Szeth goes to kill the last person on his list and it turns out to be Taravangian, and Taravangian's like, surprise, it's me, I'm the one giving you these orders, and he says the next person I want you to kill is Dalinar. You're like, T. And how could I forget the prologue? Szeth Sanzan Villano wore white the day he was to kill a king. Literally amazing. I remember where I was when I heard that. I was literally in I was in the drive-thru at a Panda Express getting food, and I heard that, and I was like, that's epic. And then all of the lashings, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, but like, this is so cool. But yeah, hands down, The Way of Kings, such a good book, such a good intro to a fantasy series, especially an adult fantasy series, which I read adult fantasy, but not at this level. Like, the stuff I read is like more heavy on the romance, which is fine. Like, no offense to that, because I love me some romanticy. I love it. But this is just like my first ever like adult fantasy, and everyone says that Brandon Sanderson's fantasy is a little bit more complicated, or it's like it's sci-fi dressed up as fantasy, which yeah, it kind of is. But this is my first ever, and that was a great intro. Right, next we're going to talk about Words of Radiance. I think that Words of Radiance is the best book in the series, objectively. Like, the pacing, immaculate, all of it. Like, I genuinely think it's so good. This is Shallan's book, while The Way of Kings was predominantly Kaladin's book. So you find out a lot more about Shallan. Her flashbacks are crazy. They leave you dying to know what happened. It's insane. I'm trying to think. There's a couple things that happen in Words of Radiance that I think are probably one of the best moments in the entire series. Specifically, I think I'm just going to start with this because it's the best. When Adolin is battling for other High Princess Shardblades, and they kind of find a loophole, and they get him to fight like 4v1, and Renarin jumps in to help him, and they're intending to hurt them. Dalinar looks at the crowd and like looking for someone to help. He looks at Amaram, and Amaran looks away, and he's like, "Where is your honor?" And Kaladin says, "Honor is dead, but I'll see what I can do." Mic drop. I know that there's other stuff that happens before that, but like genuinely, like that is such a good scene. Okay, so we get the introduction to Pattern. I like Pattern a lot. I want to know what he's up to, because in Rhythm of War you find some stuff out, and I want to know what he's up to. What is he planning? Yasna dies. Yasna dies in the beginning of the book, and you're like, what the hell? I know that wasn't the case. Like, I knew she wasn't dead. There's no way that he would kill her unless he's just George R.R. Martin and just kills off his characters, which would honestly be kind of interesting, but I'm glad that he didn't kill Yasna off. Shallan gets better at light weaving, and she kind of builds up a persona. She builds up Veil, which is good and bad. It's like how she kind of navigates the Ghost Bloods, because she kills that one girl and then goes in her place, and then she ends up not joining. She's like Ghost Bloods adjacent. It's interesting. It was really interesting to watch her do tasks for the Ghost Bloods, and she found out that Amaram is the one that killed her brother, because we know that that's not actually the case. Kaladin killed her brother, and I don't think he ever tells her that, to be honest. I don't think he's mentioned at all that he's the one who killed Helleram. And she finds that out because she sees his shard blade, because she asks to draw it. Because she goes to him as Veil. No, she goes to him pretending to be like a paper boy, and is like, oh, like, Brightness Shallan or Brightness Devar, like, wants to sketch your shard blade. Will you let her? And he's like, he summons it, and she has to, like, pretend like it's not her or doesn't affect her at all, which is sad. There's, like, a really cute moment that I like is when she first sees Wit again, because she saw him when she was a kid at that fair or whatever, and he delivered a message for Helleram. I don't think we find this out in Words of Radiance, but he was a Skybreaker. We get the whole thing with Kaladin where his bond with Syl is kind of like, is getting a little diminished because he's not acting honorable. He's not sticking to his oaths when he decides that he's going to help assassinate Prince Elhokar or King Elhokar with Moash. And then once he's there, he realizes that like Elhokar is Dalinar's Tien, his brother. So he swears his oath, he swears his ideal. He says, I will protect people who cannot protect themselves, even if I hate them, I think, is the ideal that he swears. And you have that moment where Szeth lashes Dalinar to the sky, and Kaladin comes out, and he's like, the skies are mine. Love it. That was so good. All the moments with Shallan and Kaladin in the chasms, loved it. I was definitely shipping them, but I do really like her and Adolin, so no shipping there. And I thought the moment when her and Renarin open the Oath Gate to Urithiru, and Adolin sees them, and he's just like admiring them for being radiant and like doing that. Thought that was a good moment. Adolin literally murders Sadeas, which I'm not gonna say nothing about like that. I have no issues with that. But the fight between Kaladin and Moash is crazy. I think I get to say it once right now, right? Fuck Moash. Can we all agree? Are we all in agreement? Fuck Moash. I really thought that Kaladin was gonna feel a lot more guilt about letting. I feel like Kaladin was gonna feel a lot of guilt for letting him like leave the Shattered Plains after what happens in book 3. But yeah, Words of Radiance is probably objectively the best book in the Stormlight Archive, because I know a lot of people don't like Oathbringer that much and Rhythm of War. Obviously people love them, obviously they're highly rated, but no one's gonna read like 1,200 pages and then continue the series, so obviously it's gonna have good ratings. Also, a lot of people still really like the books, even if they don't really like that one book in the series. So, yeah. Yeah. So good. I loved it. 5 out of 5. Alright, next we have Edge Dancer. So, I don't really like Edge Dancer that much. I think I gave it like a 3.5. I think that the reason why I didn't really like it is because I listened to the audiobook and I kind of got sick of hearing the word awesome over and over again. That's just my opinion. I know Sanderson really likes awesome. He likes to use that word, but I wasn't a fan of hearing it like 90 times. I did see somebody talk about it on the subreddit, and they did mention that it like meant a lot to them, like the conversation that Liv had with Nail, and I was like, okay, I can see that. Maybe I'll give it a reread. Maybe I'll just read with my eyes and I won't get as bothered by the word awesome. But anyways, short little mini review because I don't really care much for it. Oathbringer now. So Oathbringer is my favorite in the series. Mainly because it's Dalinar's book. You find out so much about Dalinar, and I have so many questions. Find out that Dalinar went to the Night Watcher, which we found out, I think, in Words of Radiance, or The Way of Kings. Not sure. But you find out, you get, like, the whole flashback. And you find out his boon. I think he asked to be a better man, or he asked for forgiveness. I'm not sure which one he asked, because you find out that he killed his wife. He's the reason his wife died. He, like, destroyed an entire village of, like, 10,000 people, and she was there. And she died. I think she burned alive or something, which is crazy. Find that out. He goes to the Night Watcher, and he asks for forgiveness or to be a better man. Not sure. And instead of the Night Watcher, he talks to Cultivation. And she takes his memories. Now, I have questions, and I know that there's probably somebody who can answer some of the things that I'm gonna ask, because I think that some of these things are unanswered, but maybe I'm just not good enough at putting it together. What I want to know is Cultivation taking his memories. Was she trying to set Dalinar up to become Odium's champion? I ask that because at the end of the book, Odium does try to make Dalinar his champion. He tries to give him the thrill again, and I think that the plan was that Dalinar would get his memories back then, so he would be filled with anger, and then he would get the thrill, and then he could be taken over by Odium. Obviously, that's not what happened. He was getting his memories back slowly, and he stood up to Odium. And I think that the reason why he could stand up to Odium was because he thought to himself, like, what's the best step a man can take? And that got him to resist. And we get that super epic scene of him being like, you cannot have my pain. And then he does clap, and he honors perpendicularity and lets Kaladin, Shallan, and Adolin through the perpendicularity. Totally epic. I love that moment. I did cry. It was so good. Part of my question is, was that part of Cultivation's plan? And did it not go to plan? And I think this doesn't happen until Rhythm of War, but I think that it was also part of her plan to get Taravangian to be the vessel for Odium. Now, I know that there's so much that happens in Oathbringer, and I'm like kind of drawing a blank right now, but I just want to talk about this before the book comes out because I'm so excited for Wind and Truth. So I'm trying to think about everything that happens. She sees Yasna again, and Yasna kind of still treats her like a ward, and she's like, I'm not for that. Dalinar and Navani get married, which is super cute. I love them. I also think that Aelin and Shallan get married at the end of this book. I don't know for sure though, but I'm pretty sure they get married. Yasna becomes the queen, which I love. I think that the one thing I didn't like about Oathbringer is I feel like we got nothing about Yasna. Like, she went through Shadesmar and she literally talks to Wit and she's like, oh, I'm gonna talk about what happened. And he's like, no, not yet. And I'm like, no, tell us. Like, I want to know. Like, what happened in Shadesmar? And I feel like that kind of bothered me. I was like, why aren't we getting more stuff about Yasna? And then when I was reading Rhythm of War and I would look and I'm like, okay, so we get nothing from her perspective. Like, what's going on? That bothered me. We have Zeth and Lift having interactions because we get some stuff about Zeth training with the Skybreakers, which is interesting. I also forgot to mention that in Words of Radiance at the end of the book, after Kaladin kills Zeth, didn't talk about that, Nail comes and not brings him back to life, he kind of like reanimates him and gives him Nightblood. Literally my favorite character in the Cosmere. I didn't even mention that. I completely forgot. So that's cool. And then in Oathbringer, we get scenes of Zeth training with the Skybreakers, and he has Nightblood with him, which I love that. I love Nightblood, favorite character. I thought it was fun to see him with Lift when Dalinar gave them the order to get that gemstone to capture the Thrill, like that. Dalinar capturing the Thrill was a little bit heartwarming. It was a little sad. It was bittersweet. He kind of thanks it for like the moments that they had, and it doesn't really know what it's doing is wrong because it's just kind of an intent. So that was interesting. I completely forgot about this. There's also that moment where the Thrill takes over Amaram's entire army, and then Rock kills Amaram. I'm trying to think what else, but I can't think of anything else. But yeah, so Oathbringer is my favorite. 5 out of 5. I love it. Yeah. All right, so Dawnshard. I really like Dawnshard. I think it was much better than Edge Dancer. I really like Ryzen as a character. I think it's interesting that you get a little bit of a preview to this whole ghost ship thing in an interlude in Oathbringer, but I really like to see Lopin. I think he's a great character. I love seeing that Guancho is a male adjective and Guancha is for women. I love that. I think that's funny. I really like Lopin. I think he's a really good character. I really liked seeing him swear some oaths. There's something that happens to her at the end of Dawnshard, and you learn about Dawnshards, but there's something that happens to her at the end of the book that relates to some other Cosmere things, which I really liked. I'm not going to mention anything else about it because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, finally, Rhythm of War. I really enjoyed Rhythm of War. I think that it was great. I really like that it was Navani's book. She deserved that spot. After reading the prologue, which, now that I say prologue, I also want to mention that I think Wind and Truth is following this as well. It only makes sense. I haven't looked at a single preview chapter. Each prologue takes place on the same day that Gavilar was murdered, so I think that book 5 is going to continue that tradition. Book 1 was Zeth's POV, book 2 was Yasna, book 3 was Eshonai, and this one was Navani. And I don't know if I mixed up Eshonai and Yasna, but I think book 2 is Yasna's POV. After what we see Navani go through in that prologue, I genuinely think that she deserves the world. This book was really interesting. I'm a science nerd, so like I really liked all the science talk with all the Fabrials and reading the epigraphs and reading the notes. I really liked that. A lot happens in this book, but also a lot doesn't happen. I just realized now that I didn't talk about Kaladin going back to his hometown and finding that he has a baby brother. Completely forgot to talk about that, but there you go. I mentioned it now, a little late. Kaladin going through some more trauma, some more mental health issues, and it makes me sad. But it also does make me feel really happy that Dalinar will... It also makes me really happy that Dalinar is kind of like, you can be useful. You can be a Knight Radiant and not be on the battlefield. He keeps kind of locking up during battle, and he does witness... He does see Moash again. Alright, so I'm currently editing the video that you're watching, and I just hit a point where I muted my mic mid-recording, and of course, right when I'm about to talk about Elhokar. So I'm just gonna kind of give a little bit of a description right now. So, basically, I go on a little bit of a rant talking about how much I hate Moash, because fuck Moash, if you haven't thought about it today. But essentially, what happens in Oathbringer is in Kholinar, when they're trying to get back to the Oathgate, Ja Anad is watching over the Oathgate. There are corrupted Spren that have taken over the Oathgate Spren. And Shallan, Kaladin, Adolin, and Elhokar are trying to get back to the gate. I don't remember what happened with Gavinar, which is Elhokar's son. So don't remember that at all. I do know that they find his son later at a camp, and Kaladin takes him back. But yeah, so when they're on the way back to the Oathgate, they get ambushed by Fused, and Moash is there, and there's like a big fight that's going on, and Elhokar is about to say the words. He starts to say life before death, and Moash stabs him and then like makes sure he's dead and like pushes on him. And I just talk about how I think about that, I think daily at this point. I really didn't like Elhokar in like the first book, but he really started to grow on me, especially when I realized that he was seeing cryptic Spren, and he was so paranoid because of that. And like he had the potential to become a Knights Radiant. So it really does stick with me that like if we would have given him some more time to like really grow into his role of a king, because he did kind of get pushed into it. His father was murdered. I really did start to care about Elhokar a lot more in Oathbringer, because there are scenes where he's literally asking Dalinar, like, I want the bridge boy, like, I want Kaladin to escort me because I want to be like him. And he literally asked Kaladin, like, how do you get people to like you? How do you get people to look up to you? And he's like genuinely trying to be a better king and a better leader. And you see that start to happen just on that one trip to Kholinar. And I think that it really could have, I think that he genuinely could have been a good leader. And I think that he could have been a really good king, and he doesn't even get that opportunity. And I think that right there really solidifies why I fucking hate Moash. Genuinely, I think that solidifies it for me. So yeah, my mic cut out, so I just kind of wanted to like edit this in here. I do have a lot of footage left to still edit, so thanks for sticking around this far in. But yeah, peace out, guys. If the audio has been different, it's because my mic was muted. I unmuted it now. I'll have fun editing that. But Kaladin watched Moash murder Rashon, which is he was like the city head of his old hometown. And even though he hated him, it was still like, but Moash was kind of like, the only way that I'm going to leave you alone is if you join Odium or you yourself. So that's not fun. That's actually really fucked up. That was kind of like the turning point for him to be like, okay, I gotta stop doing this. I gotta stop being in battle because like I keep freezing up. And there's like a moment where they get ambushed by some fused, and Kaladin kills a fused to save Teft, because they were gonna kill Teft, because Teft stayed behind to accompany Kaladin, because he knew that Kaladin was going through it. There's like, I don't know, I'm kind of like giving a recap, but like it's not necessary. I'm just talking about things that I like. That moment when Moash kills Teft, I'm like, oh, you motherfucker, I hate you. Fuck that guy. It made me so mad. Even though I knew that Teft's arc was done. I knew that there wasn't much else for him. Teft swearing his oaths, though. I will protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if I hate them. Even if that person is me. I can't. Like, I know that his arc was done, but like I didn't want him to die. But that Moash grabbing Kaladin's dad and throwing him out the window, and then Dalinar asking the Stormfather to give Kaladin mercy, and then there's like that moment later on where Dalinar's like, I do show mercy. Dalinar's like, where are you showing mercy? The whole thing where Dalinar, Jasnah, and Renarin are, I don't know where they are, and Szeth, I call it the B-plot. I know that it's not a B-plot, but I call it the B-plot, because I was way more interested in Navani, unfortunately. But the whole thing where Jasnah is, like, being a badass, like, she gets challenged to that duel, and then she, like, cuts the guy's head off, and then Renarin heals him. Badass. And she tells Wit to, like, use his wit and, like, insult them. She keeps telling him to be meaner. There's like that moment where Wit goes to Jasnah and he's like, we've been compromised. And I'm like, huh? And it's like, I think it's like a pen, and it's not a formless. Formless is the whole thing with Shallan. What is it called? I don't know if it's called Sleepless. It's a Sleepless. Yeah, it's a Sleepless. And they've been using it to like spy on him. And I'm like, what is that? And then we get no info, because he's like, oh, I think it's time. She's like, oh, something about Maraise, and he's like, you don't even know who the leader of the Ghost Splits are. Like, it's not a Rosharan organization. And then we get no more info, and I'm like, what the hell? Give it to me. Give me more info. We do get more info later with Shallan because they're at lasting integrity to get help from the honor spren. That's a lot that happens. I don't really care much. I don't remember a lot of what happens at lasting integrity. I do remember that moment when Maya speaks and stands up for Adolin and is like, the spren that were bonded with the Knights Radiant knew what was going to happen and they still did it. I like that moment. That was good. Also learning about Kalak, because he is Restares, which is like the head judge in lasting integrity, which I thought that had to be a spren. I guess not. Mraize wanted her to kill Restares, which is Kalak, using that knife that Moash used to kill Yezrian in Oathbringer. And then you have the whole thing with Pattern, where somebody is using the device that Mraize gave her and somebody's been using it behind her back. You find out that it's Pattern. You find out about Testament, which is her original spren that she was bonded to, that she broke her bond when she killed her mother. Lots of stuff there. I remember it, but like, it was a lot of info. You get to see, I think there's something, also Scions are mentioned, which is from a different thing. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to talk about other cosmere stuff going on. Honestly, I'm just going to talk about the end of the book now. The whole thing with Taravangian and him making a deal with Odium, evil incarnate, to protect Kharbranth and protect 2 generations of Kharbranth. That happened in Oathbringer. And then you have him becoming Odium's vessel. Crazy. And you have Szeth literally being like, stop manipulating me. I'm sick of it. And then goes to murder him. Taravangian grabbing Nightblood, using it to kill Rayze, and then literally ascending. And then you have Cultivation saying that things are going to plan. What plan? I need to know. And then, that's not even all. That's not even everything. That's not even everything. And then you have Wit having a conversation with who he thinks is Ray's Odium, but it's actually Taravangian Odium. Oh my god. It's insane. Actually crazy. I was listening to the audiobook. I wasn't reading with my eyes. So when I got to that part and I'm listening to it, I was like, did my audiobook start skipping? No, that's not what happens. I'm under the assumption. So this is what I think happened. Taravangian wants Wit to think that he's talking to Ray's Odium. He doesn't want him to know that he's talking to Taravangian or that somebody else has taken over Odium. Even if it's not specifically him, he just doesn't want to think that anything has changed. So he makes that interaction start over again, and he is a little less obvious. He's more Ray's-like, I guess. And when Wit leaves, he's like, things are going exactly as to plan. Okay, I do want to talk about it though. So skip here if you don't want any spoilers. After he took some of his breaths and Wit realizes that he doesn't have perfect pitch anymore, he obviously lost some of his memories because he's been using his breaths to store memories so he doesn't go insane. In Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, there's a line where Design says, do you remember when I lost my memories? And they laugh about it. And Yumi and the Nightmare Painter takes place further in the future. I think that Design is acting as Wit in that scenario. Maybe. I don't know. So he's not losing any memories. That's what I think. That is what I think. I don't know if I'm right, though. That's just my little prediction. No more spoilers. So I do want to talk about some predictions for Wind and Truth. I don't know who's going to be Odium's champion, but the whole thing with Ishar is interesting. That whole thing where Dalinar is going to lose his bond with the Stormfather because Ishar is going to take it and Szeth stops it with Nightblood. Crazy. Szeth has been trained on every single Honor Blade and he knows how to fight someone using the Honor Blade. So I think that might come into play in Wind and Truth. But that is literally all I have because I'm nervous. After reading The Sunlit Man, I'm nervous for these characters. Like, I want to know what's going to happen. I had another clip that I forgot to add. And that clip was, I wanted to talk about the Stormfather showing mercy to Eshonai. So Eshonai fell into the chasm because she was fighting Adolin in Words of Radiance. And when she fell in, she started to drown. And as she was passing on, the Storm Father gave her the ability to become radiant, and she could ride the storm like she's always wanted to see the world. So I wanted to include that because that is really important, and I forgot to mention it. So yeah. But yeah, so I'm so glad that I filmed this. I'm so glad that I got to talk about this. I'm so excited for tomorrow. I will be vlogging reading Wind and Truth. Little forewarning, next week I am getting LASIK, so I will probably not be vlogging that, but I will be listening. I will try my best to check in and just vlog. I'll probably mention this in the vlog too, but in case, you didn't watch that or you're not gonna watch it, whatever, wish me some luck. Yeah. I hope that if you're watching this, you're excited for Wind and Truth. I hope that you're going to read it tomorrow. I hope to see some discourse about it later when I'm done. This is really exciting. I can't wait to watch vlogs of other people reading it. I know that my girl, Abby Salter, is going to make a vlog, and I can't wait to watch her vlog because I love her content. I can't wait to watch a video about, capturing words talking about it. I can't wait to see my girl Meredith Novako talk about it because I love her videos. I'm just excited. I know Daniel Green's gonna talk about it. Can't wait for that video. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm glad that you stuck around to the end. If you have any suggestions, you want some more cosmere content, just comment, let me know. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, and have a good rest of your night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Bye.